Hello everyone, welcome to the God Stack. It's a new day, it's the new moment of learning. We are working with GraphQL and we are doing the front end. We are using React and let's keep going. Welcome Bruno, welcome to the God Stack. How are you?
Hello, good night, everyone. I'm fine. It was a busy day, a lot of traffic heading home, but all good.
Yeah, that's
Let's
nice.
do it.
Yeah, it's nice. And well, in the last session, we worked with the translation. I showed you one way to do that. That was using a library to do that. That's I18N. It's the most used library around the world. And then Bruno gave us a idea about that we could use the context API in order to make it by ourselves without using library, and we made it actually. We did it, and we just created a translation, and we don't even need a library to do that for us, using the same idea. So the Bruno's idea was really awesome, and we created that. Uh, Another thing that's really important when you are developing a software, it's create a good structure for your components. Okay, and this is where I see most of the people just letting it go. You know, they just they just forget about that. They just build the components just like, I'm just creating here some pages and getting all the information, and I just create the HTML in the way that we want to. They don't give attention to that. Okay, and but we have standards for the front end in the same way that you have standards for the back end. So in the back end you have MVC, you have DDD, you have TDD, you have clean code, you have solid. There is a lot of patterns and a lot of standards that you can use in the back end. In the same way, you have some standards in the front end as well. And one of the standards that I really like to use, it's the atomic design. Okay, so if you just Google atomic design, you will get to this web page, and you will be able to read about it. It's not too much. If you just scroll down, you're gonna see that it just ends here in the middle of the page, and it's not too much thing to read because it's a very simple and it's a very powerful design. Sometimes it's a little bit bureaucratic, I need to be really through with you on the other side. Sometimes this pattern is a little bit bureaucratic, but it pays. In the end of the day, it really pays. So what you need to understand is just these concepts. So you have atoms, molecules, organisms, templates, and pages. Okay. Uh, if you go to the atoms, we are talking about the HTML element directly. So we are talking about buttons, divs, paragraphs, lists, and all of that. So uh, as far as we go to the atoms, there is less logic in your component, and it's more next to the HTML. When you go to the organisms and pages, you have more logic and less HTML elements. Okay, actually, the best atomic design, there is just one place you will have the HTML elements. It's in the atoms. You should never have divs, paragraphs, lists, or whatever into the components, that is molecules, organisms, templates, and pages. Okay. Um, right now, this will seems to be a little bit confusing, but we will do that together, and we will understand how to improve that and why do we do that. Why do we use this standard? Well, why do I like to use these standards? Okay, so it has some examples here. For example, you have a label, you can have an input, that's going to be an atom as well. But when you have input with a button, for example, this is going to be a molecule. And for example, I like to use the card. Okay, if you have a page and this page has a card, so the button in the card, it's a atom. The image in the card, it's an atom. The card itself, the div that creates the card, it's an atom. But when you get the button with the image, with the div, and all of that's gonna be a molecule. And when you have a place where you show a lot of these cards, for example, you're listing movies, so you're gonna have a lot of movie cards. This container with all the movies is gonna be an organism, and then you will have the pages, and the pages is gonna be, for example, the sidebar, the header, and this content with this organism, with all this listing. And then you're gonna have, for example, a sidebar, and then the sidebar, it's gonna be a organism, and then you will have the lists inside the sidebar. Each list is gonna be a molecule, and then each item of the list is gonna be a link with an icon. The link with an icon is gonna be a molecule as well, and the link is gonna be an atom, and then the icon is gonna be an atom as well. So it's better organized, and this is gonna help you when you want to use the same structure in different websites, when you want to get this structure and use in mobile using React Native, for example. If you organize it in the best way possible, using the standard in the best way possible, you will see, I will show you that this is gonna help you a lot. Okay, nice. So let's do it. So let's do it together. Let me just open the connection here, live share, and let's share. Okay, it's copy, and I will just invite Bruno. You're not online right now, Bruno, but if you want to, you just ask me, and I will
It's
invite
open
you.
here. I will try to open again. Just a second.
Don't worry. In the moment you've got it, you just let me know, and I will
Okay,
invite you to the
I
to the to the
try
project.
again now.
Okay. I will start working with the routes. Okay. So I want to work with the login page. Okay. So let's do a very simple login page. We already have this, so it's just a div. So let's just make it goes up and see docker compose up, and let's see what happens. Of course it's gonna work, but tgs.com. Okay, it's not working right now, it's going up. Okay, localtgs.com, let's see it. Yes, localtgs.com. Nice. So this is it. I'm not going to look at this one right now. I'm just going to use the login page. Okay. So as we can see, we have a div here, and we shouldn't have a div in these. We shouldn't have a div in these. In this page, because it's a page. So the first component that I will create as atom, it's gonna be this div. Okay, so let's do new folder here. Let's create atom. Okay, let's create atoms. Nice. So new folder inside of that, and let's create a div. Okay, it's capital because it's a component. So it's gonna be a capital. So index.js. Okay, and then let's do the thing that we do every time. So let's import React from React. Okay, and then let's create a div. This div is gonna be just like that, and then let's export default the div. Okay, there we go. And then inside of these, what I'm gonna do, I'm going to do a return. Okay, I'm going to return actually a wrapper, and then inside of these, of course, it's gonna be the children, and the children we will get it from here. We need to create the wrapper as well, so const wrapper. It's gonna use the styled components, styled.div. Okay, I'm not going to use any style for this wrapper. I will just use it as a div. Okay, nice. So I have the export default div. Nice. So what I need to do is to get the div prop types, and this is because we are getting the it's not that, it's prop types, because we have the children, and then we need to use these to prop type this is gonna be any. I just need to get the prop types, so let's just get it from the prop types. Import prop types from prop types. There you go. So this is what we need to do in order to create a div. Okay, so instead of using a div just like this, of course I need to go to an index here, and then I need to export default as a div from div. It's perfect. And of course now in this one we need to do the export everything from atoms. Okay, so what's doing is I've created a div. The div will be exported into all the atoms, and then I will get everything from atoms and export again. And using our magical idea, we can import everything from components. Okay, so if I go to this login, I can do something like that. Import something from components, it's gonna get. So if I do that, I have all my components, and I will use the div here. So I'm going to do that, and let's just check if there is no error in the console. No error at all. So there we go. It's exactly the same way that we have before, okay? And you're gonna say, why did we do that? So why did we change it, the div for a component div instead of using directly the HTML component? And we did that because, for example, if you go to React Native and you want to use the same structure that you have here, the same pages, molecules, organisms, and the logic and all that, you will be able to use it because the only thing that you need to do is to change this one. So instead of doing styled div, a div in the React Native, it's a view. So it's gonna be a view, just like that. But I believe that style components you need to import the React Native styled div, or is this one? I don't remember right now. But actually, this is the only thing you need to do. You just change the div for view, and now you can use exactly the same component into React Native, and you can produce everything into mobile. Of course, the problems will be in the routes that you need to make. The router into React Native is different, and the index when you use, you're not going to use the React router DOM, and you're not going to use the React DOM. You need to change both of these guys as well. But in the end, what I want to say is the components folder, it's gonna be almost the same for the front end and for the mobile. And this is because you are always using a component that represents a div instead of the div directly. Got it? Did you understand it, Bruno? What do you think about that?
Yes, I got it.
Yeah?
I yeah, about the difference in mobile to the DOM. I think it's a lot of differences. I never think about export the primitive HTML elements. Uh, but it's a good point. I got it. Your idea.
Yeah, yeah. And and this is because I'm using atomic design. I'm following this standard. Again, as I told you guys, it's a very bureaucratic standard, but it's a standard that pays off in the end. Okay, so another thing that you need to do when you are going to work with atomic design, it's to have a template. Okay, we talked about the atoms, molecules, organisms, but I didn't talk about the template to you. So I will just create one here. Let's create the templates folder. Okay, and inside of the template, I will create a folder and I will call it generic template. Okay, the generic template, how can I explain the template? The template is just the structure of your website. Okay, for example, for login, the only thing I want as a structure, it's something that puts everything that I want into the center. Okay, so I will just create this generic template. Okay, it's gonna be like that. I will just copy div because it's gonna be always the same thing. So let's just change this. Instead of using div, it's gonna call generic template. Okay, and there we go. And of course, instead of using the div, because again, you just references directly HTML into the atoms. If you're not into the atoms, you need to import it from some kind of component. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'm just going to import the div here. Okay, so I'm just going to get this div. Instead of using styled for the HTML element directly, I'm going to use the styled to restyle the div for me. Okay, and the generic template is gonna be exactly the same idea, but the wrapper, okay, let's just make everything in the screen goes to the center. So if you want to do that, it's very simple. You just get to align everything using flags, okay, and then you use the justify content to make everything goes to the center as well. And I'm just going to do a min height. It's gonna be 100% of the view height. What I'm saying with this min height, I'm saying, hey, get all the screen for me. Okay, so this is it. This is the only thing that we need. So let's create the index here and do the same thing that we do every time. So let's get the default from default as generic template from this one. Okay, this one. There you go. So
I believe we just need to change the extensions of the components to JSX.
absolutely, you were
Yes.
right. Absolutely. So every component you need to use the JSX. Thank you, Bruno. It's exactly that.
Welcome.
Okay, so I have the generic template, and then I'm going to the logging. Okay, and then I will do the same thing. It's not here. Why is this not here? Okay. I need to export everything from templates. Okay, nice. So now I do have these. So instead of using the div, okay, here, I'm just going to use the generic template. Okay, and then let's login page, keep the login page. This should go to the, I don't need the div right now. Nice. When you are restyling some components, just like doing that, the trick to pass all this information to the element. If you want to do that, what you need to do is to get something called class name, okay, and then you need to pass this class name to the component. Okay, as you can see, it's already centered for me, but of course I need to get the class name from the prop types, and let's do that. Okay, so there we go. So what's the structure? The structure doesn't care about what you're gonna show. It's just the structure just care about what do you want to show in the screen. So for example, in this case, I just want to show an element in the center of the page. Okay, but for example, let's create another template. So new folder, and let's call this folder main template. Okay, and let's create a new file here, index.jsx. I will just copy this one. Okay, and then I will use this as an example. Okay, Right. So now what I want to do, I want to have a uh, header, a content, and a footer. That's what I want to that's what I want to have in my application. Okay, so I will use the same idea of the that I have for the generic template. Okay, but instead of doing just that, what I need to it's, for example, a header. Okay, a header, and then a content. Okay, and then a footer. There you go. Okay, and what's gonna be inside of the header? Okay, what's gonna be inside the header should be a header. Okay, and let's do the same thing for the content. So inside of the content should be the content, and inside of the footer we should have the footer. Okay, and actually the content can be the children. Children, there you go. And I don't need that anymore. And of course I need to receive the header and the footer. Okay, and let's just add this here. So it's gonna be the header and the footer. Okay, and of course the wrapper of these, instead of doing that, I want 100%, but I want to make the flex direction of this to be a column, because I want header, content, and footer. Okay, and of course I need to create the header, the content, and the footer. Okay, so let's get that header. Let's call it content and footer. Okay, so I'm just going to create the wrappers. So the actual header, it's gonna be this one. The actual content, it's gonna be this one, and the actual footer, it's gonna be this one. I'm just wrapping them because I want to organize these in the screen, and you're gonna see that this is gonna be very interesting for this layout. Okay, I'm not going to use anything right now. I'm just going to use these, and I'm going to use this template into the home page. Okay, so let's remove all of that because we don't want to use that anymore. We are not going to have a wrapper, so we don't need that anymore. And let's just import from components. I need to export, isn't it? Yeah. So let's just do that, and let's get the main template, and let's get this here. Okay, so I'm just exporting into the templates page, and then I just want to get the main template. Nice. And let's return. Okay, and then I need to pass the main template. And here let's call it content. Okay, I'm not using that right now. Let's just save it. Okay, but let's make it is required. All of them is gonna be required. Okay, because if I don't pass it, the React will tell me that something is missing. So what I need here is the footer, okay, and the header. Okay, There you go. So I need to pass a footer and a header, and this it's gonna be a component. So let's use the div, okay, and call it footer, and the header it's gonna be a div as well. That's gonna be, let's call it header. Header. Okay. The div is not like that. It's like that. Okay, but I can get it. You could do that, my boy. There you go. Okay, so this is gonna be a div just like that, and when we save it, if we go back to the to the home page, you will see that you have header, content, and footer. Okay, let's just paint it in the so let's just do like that. Background color, this one's gonna be red. Okay, the header is gonna be red, the content it's gonna be blue, and the footer it's gonna be green. Okay, if I do that, there you go. So I have header, content, and the footer. But what I want to do is to keep the header here, make the footer goes to the base of my page, and make the content get everything everything that's in the middle.
Remaining space.
Sorry.
The remaining space.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm going to do here is use the min height, okay, and I will just use 30 pixels to this one, and of course to the header. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. So I have 30 pixels to that. And how much is gonna be for the content? Okay, so the content I will use the min height as well, but instead of passing a value, I'm just going to calculate the value. So for example, I want the content to get 100%. So whatever it is, I want it to get 100% of all my viewports. But there's gonna be a problem, and the problem is, let me just reset it. Yeah, now it's really small. Let's just make it. Yeah.
Suggestion for you.
Yeah,
after you do that.
and what I'm going to do is, if I'm using 30 for this one and 30 for this one, I'm just going to do that less than 60 pixels. So now there you go. I have the footer in the footer, the header, and all the content in the center. Bruno, what would be the
We have, since your wrapper generic template is it's a flex div, we can put a property in the content. If we don't know the height of the footer and the header, we can leave as is,
your
and they
voice
are being
your
put.
voice it's a little bit cranky. Can you?
Okay.
Perfect.
What I was going to say, if we don't know the height of the header and the footer, we can put a property in the content to take the remaining space that is flex1. So because our wrapper is flex div, so
Just like that.
if we flex1, yes, because that way it will takes all the remaining space in the page.
And there you go. Well, which one's the best?
It's not. We don't have a best way, but if we don't want to specify a height to the to the header or the footer, and the height is dynamic. It depends of how much content I'm going to have inside of it. We can put just flex one, and everything will work as expected.
Nice. I would say that this one it's a better one. Just because of that. For example, now, okay, let's use the first idea, the one I give. What happens if I do that? For example, as you can see, now I have a scroll in my page. It's going up and down. Okay. And what I need to do, of course, I need to come here and change this value as well in order to do that. But if we are using the flex one, okay, if we are using the flex one, I don't need to do anything. If I just change that, for example, I want my footer to be like 80 pixels. The content will adjust to take whatever space it's there for me.
Yes, and if you don't want to specify a minimum height to the footer or the header, it will be defined by how much content, how much things I have inside of it. It will grow properly.
Yeah,
It will take
but
the
I'm actually like to use the min height because
yeah,
I
yes,
don't
of
like
course.
the content moving around. For example, you get the header. Imagine that you need to fetch any information from the header. For example, you need to fetch the information for the image, the user image. Most of the
Yeah,
people put the user image here. Meanwhile, it's loading. This header will have just like 20 pixels, and when the image loads, this is gonna be like 30 pixels. So this is gonna like do some pop. It's gonna start small, and then it's gonna do something that's like, and then it's gonna be a little bit bigger. And I don't want the content just moving in the page. So what I like to do is to use the min height. The min height, as you can see, it's a min, so it can expand. But the smallest one is gonna be 8, and it's gonna be defined by this one. And if it needs to expand, it's going to expand for any kind of different reason that's necessary to do that. So
yes, nice.
this is why I like to use the min height to that. Does this make sense, Bruno?
Yes, of course. It's just I was just uh, bringing a point to why it's another benefit to use the Flex one.
Exactly, exactly.
If we don't know if we want to the footer or the header grows according to how much content we have inside of it, we
Yeah,
can do that. But
yeah,
I prefer to have a minimum size of the components too.
yeah. Well, I'm kind of recommends to use the min height uh, again to not make the content flow around.
Yes, maybe sometimes we have uh, the the uh, header the text it's too much. It's it's too small, and we don't want to the header to be so short. So we can put a minimal height,
Exactly.
and we will have a proper header in our template.
Yeah, exactly. So, uh, as what I'm trying to show you here, it is that the template it's agnostic to the content. So it doesn't care what's a header. It doesn't care what's a content. It doesn't care what's the footer. It just say give me a footer, and I will be the responsible to make this component goes whatever I want to in my page. Okay, so for example, imagine that if you want to move these just like that, and you want for example, the footer to disappear. Okay, so when you have a smaller content, you just want the footer to disappear. You're gonna do that in here. You're gonna do that into the template. The template is gonna be responsible to do that for you. Okay, so the template is just organizing where the elements will be in the page, and the element itself will be passed by any other page or any other element, as I did here. Of course, you should not have something like that. Okay, you should not have something like that. You should import footer from the component. The footer should be an element. Okay, but as we are going to do that with the logging now, you will understand the idea. Okay, so I have the generic login. Okay, and then inside of that, what most of the people would do, it's they would create a form. Okay, a form to do all the things for us, and now all our things will start. For example, I would do just something like that. For example, I would use a form, and then inside of the form we would add a input, just like that, for example, and then this would be, for example, type text, and well, it's gonna be just that. So, and then we would create another input type password. Okay, and then we would create a button. It's gonna be type. If the button is inside a form, of course it's gonna be a submit. Okay, so let's do the login here. So let's go to login. There you go. So you would have a login, something almost like that. Okay, of course you need something to submit it and all of that, but the thing is, again, we have elements, that's HTML elements, and we should absolutely never have HTML elements outside atoms. So if this is important to me, just like a button, so let's create a button. So new folder and button. Okay, and new file, index.jsx, and then let's just get the div. Okay, and let's do that. Instead of div, it's gonna be button, and this is gonna be button. Okay, there you go. So I have a button now, and then I just export this button. Button. There we go. Yeah. It's gonna be here. It will be not button. And in the logging, instead of just passing a button there, I will import the button, and there you go. Again, when we are using the HTML, the button, it's a HTML button, but when you are working, for example, in the mobile, the button is going to be touchable. So the only thing you do, if once you get these elements and and pass it to the mobile, you would use a touchable here. I believe that we have a specific for a specific stylet for React Native. I will just get this information from the website in another moment when we work with mobile. Okay, so there we go. Now I have the button, and I can pass all the class names if I want to the button, and the button will work. So if you go back, as you can see, the button is still working for me, and I don't have any kind of problem with my button. Okay. So for the button, I will just get another thing here. It's gonna be the type, because the button has a type, and let's call a size. Okay, a size for the button. There you go. So now I can pass the type of the button, type, and then the size of the button, size. Okay, and of course it will be mandatory to get these from my component, and type is gonna be string, and it's gonna be required. So the type is required, and the size it's gonna be a string as well. So there we go, string. And no, the size is not required, because I will always use the size as a large button. Let's actually use the mid as a default. Okay, and what I want to do with my button, let's just improve a little bit the buttons in my application. Let's add some margin to make it have some space around, and padding. Let's add something like that as well. So inside of the button, I want some kind of spaces too, and the border radius, let's make it not too much, but a little bit round. Okay, so let's save and see what happened. There you go. So it's a little bit round with space inside and a little bit space outside as well. Okay, let's just do let's always center itself. If it's inside any kind of place, let's make it always go to the center. Okay, and let's get a width of 100%, and let's get a height of 100% as well. So there we go. So it's gonna be always a button that gets all the space that it has. So of course we need to put all these things inside a div to make the button be in the size that we want to, but we can use that. Okay, and what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do with the size, for example? So let's use these as a font size. Okay, font size. So let's get it's gonna be just like that. Okay, and then I can pass a function. This function it's going to receive the theme and the size. Okay, and the return of that, now we need to create it. So we need to create it into the themes. If you remember that we have the themes here, so let's get the default. Okay, and let's do that together. So let me just get it from here. There we go. Okay, so I will have here a sizes. let's create a object called sizes, and inside these sizes let's add a button. Okay, and then I will have for the button I will need to have a large button. Okay, nice, large button, a medium button, and a small button. Okay, and every button we will have the width of this button and the height. I was type it wrong. It's height. Yes, nice. So let's get these and add it to here and add it to here. Okay, so now we have all the descriptions of the buttons. Okay, and then we can go back to the button. Okay, and actually we need the themes. If you remember, we have the themes. We can use the use my context, use my context, and we can get the theme from here. There we go. And of course I will get the theme and pass it to the button, just like that. Just like that. There you go. So now I have both. Now I have both of this information, and with both of them, I will be able to get these and use this information here. Actually, I'm going to create another thing in the theme instead of using the sizes, the button sizes. Let me just use a text size. So I have the size, I have the button. Let's use the text size. Okay, because I want to control the font size. Okay, so of course I'm gonna have a large, a mid one, and I will have the small one. Okay, there we go. So let's use for large 24 pixels. Let's use for medium 22 pixels, and let's use to the small 19 pixels, for example. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to use theme dot size sizes dot, let's get that. So sizes dot text, and of course I will pass the size in here. So let me just put this here. Nice. So what I'm doing, when I pass a size, just like medium that I'm passing here, I will use the size to be the one responsible getting the theme sizes. Okay, so let me just successfully, and I believe that's because it's not compiling everything, so let's just make it goes down and up again. Cannot report text often defined exactly. There we go. API SPA, it's going up, and there we go. Let's refresh it. It cannot get the theme. Are we using the TGS as default? Which one is the default? It comes from the client. Okay, so if it comes from the client, it's in here. Which one's the client? The client's the TGS. Okay, this means that I'm changing the default. Let's just copy these and put in there. It's gonna work. So let's copy all of these. Okay, and let's add it to the TGS. and there you go. Perfect. So as you can see now, I have a login button, and it's using, as I'm not, if we go to the page, I'm not passing the size, so it's using the medium one. So let's try it and use the size as a small one. That, as you can see, the button shrinked a little bit, and if I pass the large one, it's gonna be a little bit bigger. Of course, you can play with these pixels, so you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, and you can do whatever you want with the size of the button. I'm actually just going to use the small one. Okay, and there we go. So now I have these. So I have my button set up. Okay, and what I need to do now is work with the input. Okay, so let's just do that. Let's just create a input and do the same thing that we did for the button. Okay, so create a new folder. Let's call it input, and new file index.jsx. Again, the advantage of that, it is, if you need a button, you have a standard button for all your application, and if you change this button, all the buttons in your application will change. So you are better organizing everything as well, in the same way that you organize your entire application. So let's use the div as a example, and of course this is gonna be input. Okay, and the input, it's gonna receive, let me see here, a type. Okay, so I need to do both of them, and then I need to get the type and pass the type to the component. So it's gonna be just like that, and then let's just get the type. Oh, the type, it's gonna be, of course, prop types, and it's gonna be a string, and it's required. There you go. So now I have an input. Let's just send these to input, save it. Let's come here and get these and add these to the input. Okay, there you go. We have input set up. Then we go to the login, and now we get the input from these and save it. Exactly the same thing. Okay, it's exactly the same. What I want to do, this is a form, because my login page, it's not, I believe I need a wrapper to that, isn't it? I can do that to the form. Okay, when I do the form, I will do that. The thing is, this is side by side. I want it to be like a column. So I would, of course, use the display flex and then do the column thing to make it work. Okay. Guilherme is here. Welcome, Guilherme. Welcome to the God Stack. Okay, so let's go back. Use the input. Let's just check it. Yes, this one is password, this one is text. It's working as well. And of course we are going to do exactly the same thing with the form now. So create another folder. It's going to be a form. As I told you, when you are working with atomic design, the beginning, it seems a little bit bureaucratic, but as your application grows, everything's gonna be real better for you, and you're gonna do that faster and faster and faster, and you're gonna see that. So let's just do that. This is gonna be a form, and instead of use these, let's use the form. Okay, form, there we go. So I have a form that, and right now I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to do the thing that I told you before. So let's do the display flex, and let's make the flex direction to be column. There we go, column. And what? Of course I'm not using the form there. I need to export first. Yeah. So let's export it. So let's get these. Let's add here. Let's go back to the login page, and we are going to import a form, and let's use the form here. There you go. Better. Way better now. So now it's organized. Okay, of course. Let's improve the input a little bit. Okay, so let's just get some margin to that. Again, I like to use margin padding, just like 5 to 10, but you can do that in the any way you want to. And there you go. Now I have here, it's gonna be the username, and then the password, and then you're gonna click. It's already working because I didn't do any logic here. Okay, but there's also a but. As you can see, there's a lot of things here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove all these things from the page, because the page should not have a lot of reference to the HTML or to any kind of component. It's just need to get something from the outside and put in here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this form. Okay, and in order to do that, I will create a new folder here, and this folder is gonna be the organisms. I don't know if I did that. Let's copy it and let's go to the Google. Let's type it. Yes, I type it correctly. Okay, and inside of that, let's create a new folder. This folder is gonna be the forms folder, and inside the form folder, a new folder, and this folder, it's gonna be a login form. Okay, and inside the login form, a file called index.jsx. I will just copy the div. Not here, and let's just call it login form. Okay, this is gonna be like that, and of course I will go to the login page and I will get all this information, and I will remove from here, and I will add it here just like that. Okay, and import something from components. Okay, and of course I need the form, I need the input, and I need the button. There you go. Okay, I don't need the children, and I don't need the there you go. So I don't need any of these, and I don't need this one as well. Okay, I would just comment it for now, and there we go. So I need inside of the form a new file called index.js, and export default as login form from, there you go, and then we get from what is default? Nice. And now into the organisms new folder, export. No, it's in the form. New file. I did that. Yes, this is login form forms now. New file, index.js. Then export everything from forms. Nice. And we need to go to not this one, yes, and then export everything from organisms. There you go. So now this one is going to export every form that I have. This one is going to export everything from forms right now, and then I export everything, and now I can get the form from here, login form. There you go, login form, and then I will just use it like this in here, and let's check it. What is going on? Check the random pages. Div, where is that? Login form. It's going to be login form. Everything from forms. It's compiling. Okay. Element type is invalid. Expect string. But got to define it. Where is that? The login page. Where is the login page? There you go. So I didn't do that. I forgot to save the file. It was that. Just that is okay. So there you go. It's still working, but now look, this is way better. I have my template and the content of the login page. The content of the login page doesn't need to be in the login page. You just can create a organism to do that for you. And then in the organism, okay, the organism will be a group of a form. So I have the input, the button, and all this information. And now it's better organized, and the structure, as you can see, it starts to be, every time it gets bigger and bigger. But let's just take a superficial look around again. So now I have templates, okay, so it's the structure of my my application. In the pages, it's gonna be all the logic. We don't have logic right now, but I will gonna do that in a few moments. We're gonna do that. We will try to connect to the database. So you need things like the function to do that, to get all the state of my application and all that. So we are going to do that in here. The organisms is just for contents and forms and things like that. And the atoms right now, it's representing the HTML directly. Okay, so as you can see, it's really the organization of that, it's really good. Okay, the other thing that I need to do into the form, okay, so I need to connect to the backend. Okay, and if we want to connect to the backend, what you need to do is to use a provider to do that for you. The one I will use, if you're using the REST API, for example, what would you use? It's gonna be an Axios, for example, and then you will use Axios to connect to the backend. And for example, if you use Redux, I strongly recommend you to not use Redux. But if you do, you would have actions to make the actions inside the application. You would have the Redux with the store to save all the information. You would need to add sagas to handle the backend calls and all that. As we are working with GraphQL, we are going to use a library to do that for us, okay? And it's the same library that we use in the backend. In the backend, we use Apollo, okay? But it's Apollo server. And now, for the front end, we are going to use the same Apollo, but instead of the Apollo server, it's gonna be the Apollo client, okay? So of course it's a library, we need to add that. So let's do in the way that we always do. Instead of doing that in our machine, we're going to call the the container to do that for us. So docker exec iterative with terminal, and then it's going to be to the SPA. So yarn add Apollo client. Okay, there you go. Nice, nice. And I will create here, just in the source, new file called Apollo config.js. Okay, and then I will do all the Apollo configuration. So I'm just configuring Apollo to go to the backend to do that for us. And again, what I like a lot from Apollo, it's because Apollo will do all the things for us. For example, it's gonna be a state management. It's gonna be a library to call the backend. It's gonna be a library to organize the information for us. So you're gonna see in a moment that this is kind of brilliant. So let's import from.
And Apollo have a very powerful feature that is subscriptions that is WebSocket, so you
Yeah,
don't need to configure by hand
exactly,
and WebSocket connection. So it's very
exactly,
cool.
exactly, exactly. So well, I'm instead of using a local storage to save all the things for us, we are going to use the memory to do that for us. But if we want to use to do an in-memory cache, we need to add another library for Apollo, that it's this one. Let's just do that. Let's make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay. And let's just add the Apollo in memory. Nice. So I'm just import from Apollo cache in memory. We're just gonna get the in memory cache. There we go. Okay. And if you want to create a cache, just do that. Const cache. It's gonna be a new in memory cache. There you go. And now we have a cache to do the things for us. Nice. So let me just go to the Apollo client. Let's see if they have a that's what I wanted to. So this is gonna be the client. I can get it directly from the @Apollo client now. I don't need to do all the things. So if I have @Apollo client, this is way better. Ah, yeah, I believe I will do that. So let's remove it. I believe that Apollo now get all these libraries together. When I started working with these, we just have different libraries that you need to get all that. And as I'm seeing there, it's just require, of course, the GraphQL. We would add this library in the front end as well. But now you can get everything from, let me just remove it. So let's remove Apollo cache and remove Apollo client. Nice. So let's check it. Okay, it's just added 2 libraries. Perfect. So it means that now I can get everything from Apollo client. There you go. Nice. So in memory cache, perfect. It's beautiful. It's even better than what I was expecting. Okay, so I just need to create a client. Okay, and let's do that. The cache is gonna be the cache. Okay, I don't need to do that. And now I have the I can do that export const client. Okay, and you need to pass a backend URI to the Apollo. Let me see if I just have the client. Okay, so we need to do that. Let's go to the environment variable. Okay, let's go to my Docker compose, and then in the environment, let's call it HTTP. Let's just do that, HTTP. Nice. So it's actually this one. So it's gonna be just like that, okay? And of course, if this is going to connect to the API URL, if you just get that, it's just like that. It's here, but we need to add the HTTPS value to this one. So let's do that. HTTP. HTTPS is gonna be for production. So let's gonna do just like that. There you go. And as we are here, let's get to the SPA as well. Okay. So am I in the right? Yeah. So the SPA it's gonna be this one. And there you go. And if we want these environment variables goes to the environment file, we need to change the scripts. Okay, so let's just do that. Instead of this, it's gonna be this one. So API. So API, and let's do the same thing for the SPA. Okay. If you do not recognize this script, there is, I believe that it was 3 lives ago, I've explained it. Why does that? What does this do? But a resume of that, it get the environment variables and create a string and put it into this file. So when I do the Docker Compose app, as the same way that I'm doing here, the Docker Compose app will call the assemble script. Into the assemble script, you have the node that will run the script for me. So when I do, if you take a look at that, now we don't have that environment variables. But if I do the Docker Compose app right now, I hope I saved the file. Yes, I did. There we go. Now I have the information here. Okay. So in the moment that it compiles and it starts my container, it goes there and parse all the files that's needed. Okay, nice. So now I can do things like that. Import from environment, and I can get that information from the environment. It's gonna be HTTP API because I want to connect to the backend. And here, let's use that. Okay. Nice. Nice. And now I need to go to my index, to my index file, and I need to import this client. Okay. So let's do that. Import this from Apollo config, and as you can see, the client is there. Okay, and I need to use the Apollo provider now. Okay, so let's do it. Import, as I told you before, we would need a provide. Oh, sorry, we would need a provider for that, and of course, it's gonna be into the Apollo client, and it's gonna be a Apollo provider. This one, nice. So I just need to wrap everyone into the Apollo provider. Okay, so let's just get this guy and put it to the end. There you go. And of course I need to pass the client to a Apollo. Okay, and I believe that this it's almost all the configuration that you need to do to configure Apollo. It's really easy, and well, we will see what happens in the future with this file. This file is going to grow a lot because we're going to add a lot of configuration in here. But right now, the only thing I want to do is to connect to the backend and save these all these informations. Okay, and of course, if I want to connect to the backend, I need to create a GraphQL to do that for us. Because if you remember, if we go to Insomnia, okay, and so how do we do? Let's just go back here. There we go. So how do we do the login? We need to do this mutation. Okay, so we need to create a mutation to do that for us. So I will create a file inside the source folder, directly into the insights folder. Let's create a new folder called GraphQL. Oh, not GraphQL, GQL. Perfect. So let's create a folder that's gonna have all the mutations. Okay, and inside this folder, let's do the user login. Let me just check if it's user login. Let's copy it from here and let's do that, user login. And a new file that's gonna be index.js. And what I need to do is to import from Apollo client. Let's get the GQL. Okay, there you go. And then let's create a variable here, const user login. Okay, and this user login, it's gonna be a GraphQL. Okay, there you go. And export default user login. Okay, and then let's create a new file here. It's gonna be index.js, and export default as user login from user login. There we go. And of course into the index.js and the GQL. Let's export everything from mutations. Okay, and we need now to get this mutation, just copy it and just add it to here. Okay, there you go. If we use that, it's just going to always log in with this information. I don't want that. Okay, so between the mutation and this bracket, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pass some variables here. So it's going to be the username, okay, and username it needs to be a string and it's mandatory. And let's pass a password. There we go. Password is going to be string and it's going to be a mandatory as well. Okay. And then, of course, instead of using the username here, I will use the username. And instead of using some kind of password here, I will just get the password. Okay, nice. So what I'm saying is, when I call this function, I need to pass username to this and password. Both of these I need to pass, username and password. Okay, and it will execute, go to the backend, get all the information and give it back to me. So let's do that into the pages. So let's go to the login. Okay, so let's go to the login page. There you go. Components, pages, and there you go to the login page. And what I need to get, it's import from Apollo client. So let's get the use mutation. It has the use mutation there. From the use mutation, okay, let's get here. Let's get here some things from this use mutation. There we go. So use mutation, when you do the use mutation, it's actually an array. It's gonna give you a function here. Let's call it login. Okay. We will use this function every time this function is executed. This use mutation is executed, but we need to pass to this use mutation a GraphQL, and of course, the GraphQL, it's in the GraphQL. It's the folder that we created, and we will just have user login there. So there you go, and nice. So the idea is every time I execute this function, I need to pass, of course, to this function the username and password, and this function is going to go to the backend, get all the information, and give it back to me. Okay. So let's create here const handle submit. I never remember if submit has one or two T's, but let's go with one T. Okay, nice. So this handle submit, of course, I'm going to pass to the form, because the form is the one that will have the handle submit things. And just a trick to you, every time you create a function in the React, just like that, instead of doing that directly, just like I'm doing here, go to the beginning of this function and do a use callback. Use callback, it's a hook from React, and we are going to use that to work with our application. Okay, So let's just do that and do that. So you need to pass to the use code.
Will
Sorry.
Will Bytes is asking what Linux distribution do you use?
Right now I'm using Pop OS. Right now I'm using Pop OS. It's about here, isn't it? There you go. So right now I'm using Pop OS, but I'm waiting for Fedora 34 be a little bit more stable, and then I will move back to Fedora. I had to move to Pop OS because I've changed my notebook, and my notebook has a, a graphic card, and I needed to use this graphic card for things that I'm working. So I've changed to Pop OS that has all the graphic cards solved for me. But in the moment that the Fedora 34 is stable, and I have Docker and I have all the NVIDIA drivers into the Fedora, I will move to Fedora. But this is the one I'm using. This is the reason uh, I'm just always hitting the corner and doing things like that. It's because I'm using this one. Okay, so why do I use callback? Use callback, it's a hook that's kind of going to memorize the function. So if the function, uh, if you call the function more than once with the same values, the function will memorize the answer and give you back the answer directly without needing to execute the function again. So it's kind of memoizing, and it makes your application faster. So every time you do in the React something just like that, so you create a handle submit function, instead of just doing the function there, use the use callback, and then you pass uh, the function into the use callback. It's better. Okay, and of course, when you call the handle submit, this it's gonna receive a event because it's the form event, and what I want to do is to do event prevent default, because I don't want the form to the HTML4 to call the backend. I want the React to do that for me. So what I'm saying is, when I click the submit button, I don't want the form to be submitted in the HTML way. I want the React to do that for me. So this is the reason I'm doing that. Okay, and and
I lost you a little bit. Why we are using the use callback?
the use callback, it's a memorize for my function.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if I call the function more than once with the same value, it's already going to give me the answer without without need a refresh. So
Okay.
for example, if
So
you
you can put the login information inside the dependency array, and if I send the same thing, the function will, will not change it.
exactly, it just will be
Okay.
solved once, and it's not going to change. The better way to understand that, it's, for example, imagine that it's a sum function, okay? Sum function, okay? So let's do something like that. So you have A and B, and then the return of that is gonna be A plus B, okay?
Okay.
Just like that, for example. Uh, if you call the sum function, if you do something like that, sum 1 plus 1, okay, this, it's gonna call this function, okay, and the return result is gonna be 2. If you call this function twice, it's gonna execute the function twice. But if you use the use callback around this, and of course, I wanted to always look to the A and B variables. Okay, so actually, I would need to have something like value A and value B, and I need to have a const value A. It's gonna be 1. Oh, sorry, 1, and const value B. It's gonna be 1 as well. Okay, I don't need that. Okay, there you go. So now the use callback is watching for the value A and value B. Okay, so of course I'm going to do that, vol A and vol B. Okay, and if I do that again, and vol A and vol B haven't changed, this means that this function is gonna give me back the same value. So I just need to execute the first one and use the result of the first one in the second one. I don't need to make the second sum that I'm doing here to execute again.
So you are saying that the function will not be executed
a second time.
A second time?
Exactly. It's not going to be executed a second time.
Okay. I think the function will be executed, but the value of the sum will not be replaced if the value doesn't change.
Exactly.
I think.
Exactly. It's gonna watch for anything that's in here. If this doesn't change.
But you realize that the function is still going to be executed.
You mean this function? This function?
I mean the use callback function that you are embracing with the use callback function.
Yeah, this one.
Yes, this will be executed again, right?
No. If the variables that I pass to this array doesn't change, it's not going to be executed again. It's just going to get the previous result and give it back the previous result.
Okay, I thought that the result, that the behavior was a little bit different. We can make a test.
Yeah. Let me just do that, and we will go back to these and do this test. Nice. Okay, so now I need a handle. Let me close all of these. Let me close all. Open just this one and this one. Okay, because I will work a lot with both of them. So let's just get the handle submit. Okay, handle submit, and then of course if I have this, it's gonna be just like that. No, it's gonna be the type is don't. Let's just put that. This is gonna be a no. Prop types func, and is required. Of course, this is required. What? Okay, and then we need to do that. Okay, so we need to pass the handle submit. We need to pass the handle submit to the form. Okay, and we need to go to the form, and we need to do the same thing. I will even copy it. because it's exactly the same thing. So there we go. Now we have the handle submit, and when we are working with forms, this is on submit. There we go. The HTML handle submit will call the function, and the function. This is go up. Okay. There you go. There you go. There you go. So let's just check it. Console.log called. Let's just check if this is working. So yeah, there you go. It's called. So it's being called. It's because we don't have anything in here. Okay. The other thing that I need to we need to pass the reference for the inputs, right? So I will create the reference of the input into the pages. So let's do that. It's going to be username, and if you want to create a reference, you just use the reference from the React. There you go. I'm just going to use the use ref. So why do I use the use ref? What the use ref means? You guys are amazing. Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. Highlight my message. Thank you. So the use ref. Some people like to use the use state, but the problem with the use state, it is every time. Let's start actually. Let's start with use state. There you go. So I'm going to use username, and it's going to start with an empty string. Okay. So let's do the same thing for the password. There we go. So now I have the username and password. Okay. I'm sorry. When you do the username, you need to do that. Okay. So I have the username, and then you need the set username, and then you have the password and the set pass.
You're gonna need square brackets for that.
Huh?
You're gonna need square brackets for that.
You mean here?
Yes.
Okay. I believe that it can be user state, it can be object, but let's just use that. So and now you need to pass all this information to the form, because the form needs all of that. So let's get the password. It's gonna be just like that. Okay. Let's just put it like that, and of course we need the same thing, but instead of this one's gonna be set, and this is gonna be set, and of course this set username, set password, and this is gonna be set username and set password. Okay, and let's get all this information, and let's pass it to this and let's just get this. Let's do that, and let's do that, and let's do prop types. Dot, it's gonna be something. This is gonna be string, this is gonna be string, this is gonna be a function, this is gonna be a function. Okay, and of course I need to do that. There you go. So, and now I need to get these and do that and that and that, and now I can copy it and add it here, and there you go. username, password, and all of that. So it's not being used. And what would you do here? It should do just like that. The value of the input would be the text would be username, okay, and the value of the password, it would be password. Oh, password. Okay, and you would add a on change. It would be just like that. On change, and then you would receive a event dot. It's gonna be
Target value.
target value. Target dot value. And we of course would do the set user name. We're gonna do that. Okay, and then of course we need on change to these as well. So, but instead of set username, it's gonna be set password. The same thing. And I believe that what to do. Okay, so when I change the information here, but it's working. But let me just do something to make it more for you to understand it better. So let's do that render. Okay, so no render. I believe that it's not. Let's just do that. I believe it's not setting. Is it set username? Set username. Set password. Is it? This doesn't seem to be working. I'll change. Set username. Let me just get something here. Let's check if the value is there. I believe it's not changing. Okay, so let's do that called. What? Of course I need a username password here as well. Get out. What? What I'm doing wrong here? So I'm calling login form and passing the set username and set password, and login form username password set username set password. Let me just make sure that this is being called. Let me just do that and save it. Okay. Of course. This is the okay. It's because I forgot to put the brackets here, and now instead of executing the function, it's returning the function. So if I just do that, no, it's still not. So let's make this console log username the input field does not have the value and the onChange. I need to add it to the input. That's it. So, no, this one. It's gonna call, yeah, this one. Yeah. So I need to add the onChange, and the value. Okay. So this is gonna be onChange, and value. It's gonna be value. Okay.
You can do the structure as well inside of the input.
Let me just finish that function. It's not required, but okay. And the value. It's gonna be prop types, and it's gonna be the value. It's gonna be any right now. Okay. You mean? I'm sorry.
You can do structure the rest inside of the input, but I think your lint will gonna complain.
Exactly. You mean do that, isn't it? Just get all of these and do just like
Yes.
that.
Usually I use rest or something like that.
Yeah. But
I think the prop types and the lint is going to complain.
exactly. Prop spreading is forbidden. And the prop spread is forbidden because when you use prop spreading, some of the things just will be hidden, and there is a lot of problems with that.
I use that in some cases. So in this case, for example, I have an input and I have default properties of this input, and I have another properties that is could be the color. So I destructure the color, and then I destructure the rest, and the rest I put inside of the input. So this is not being passed twice, just the default properties and the color. I do that sometimes. I like to use the spreading in some cases.
Yeah, I just avoid, again, it's not like mandatory to use or not to use. When you are in a project, you will make some decisions. But myself, I like to not use prop spreading and always be very clear with every props that I'm using my project, because
you have to be careful with that feature because it will pass everything that you put in.
Exactly.
If you don't handle it well, it will. You have to handle it well.
Yeah. And as I told you before, now every time I press a button, it's gonna render my page again and again for password and for username. So I don't want that to happen. So I don't want renders in my page for every time I type a button. So how would I solve that? So instead of is this the form? Yeah, this is the form. Hello submit. What? This is the form component. This is the form. Perfect. So instead of using the use state, I'm going to create references. So const username, okay, and I'm going to use the use ref. Okay, there you go. So let's remove the use state. The use ref, every time you have an input in your application, you should use ref. Okay, so let's do that. Use ref and password. Okay, there you go. So now I have a reference for username and password, and I don't need this function anymore. Okay, so let's go to that and let's remove it. Okay, and let's remove both of these things as well. Let's remove both of these things as well, and let's call it here, let's call it reference. The reference for the username is going to be the username, and the reference for the password, it's going to be the password. Okay, we're just going to do that. What's red here? Okay, I don't need that anymore. And let's just do that for now. Let's just do that for now. Yeah, okay.
When you're using some components, we can forward the reference. React to have a cool feature that is forward F forward. I don't remember it. Forward half. Yes. That you can react to the
Yeah, I got it. But you don't need to use the forward reference if you don't pass it as a half, the name half. As you can see, I've used it to the input. I used the name reference. Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Instead of
Nope.
half, and then I pass the reference. But
Yes.
when I will use it directly into the input, I will use half, and then I will pass the reference. In that way, I don't need to use the what's the name of that? It was forward half,
Forward half. Yeah.
because you don't need the reference is gonna be a prop, just
I
like
like I like to do it. I like to do it sometimes. Um, with uh, with uh, with components that I will use frequently. So input it some. It's a component that I will use it frequently because I always want the reference. So I like to do it, but
yeah,
it's not a we can
yeah,
do a lot of we have a lot of ways to accomplish something.
yeah,
I'm just saying that I like to do.
yeah. But if I want to get the value of that, now the username is just a reference. What does that mean? That means that it's a reference directly to the HTML value in the input. So if I want to get the current value of that, I'm just going to do dot current dot value. So this is the only thing you need to remember when you're using the use have. Okay, so let's just test it. Something's wrong. Username type object supply login form expect a string. Okay, okay. So now this is gonna be object because it's a reference now. So object. Let's see. Nice. Okay, the render. Let me just remove that so I don't need that anymore. Okay. Let's just do it. So if I type anything, as you can see, it's not rendering anymore. It's just rendered the first time, and both of them, I don't have the render anymore. Okay. So let's just remove this because we don't need it. And let's check if I do username. If I do username 111 and password is gonna be pass111. If I do login, as you can see, it's called username 111 password 111. Okay, so you can get the reference value just to like that. Okay, and now let's go back with the login. Okay, and when you do that, let's do the login. and let's execute the login. And as this is a GraphQL function, we need to pass the variables. There we go, the variables. And this variable is gonna be username, name, and this is gonna be username dot current dot value. And let's do the same thing for the password. Password is gonna be password, username, and the value. As this is a function and it's a promise, let's see what the backend will send to me. Okay, so console log data and see what's going to happen here now. Let's go. Let's use a name that it's. Let's just check here if this is still work. It's valid. Let's create a username and password. Done. Done. Nice. So this username it's working. 110 123 456 78. Okay, 110 123 456 78, and there you go. I've received data and user login. So I'm receiving the refresh token here and the token. Now I can save both of them into the local storage, for example. So let's do that instead of just doing this like that. Let's just do const token and refresh token. Okay, and let's get data.user login. Okay, just like here, it's data user login, and then both of them. Okay, and let's do the local storage dot set item, and then we're just going to set the item token. It's gonna be the token. Token, it's gonna be token, then local storage dot set item refresh token, it's gonna be refresh token. There you go. And okay, let's save it. Let's do that again. So I'm have in the application here, I just have locale and the team, and if I save it, there you go, token and refresh token. Now my token, the refresh token, when I log in, it's gonna be saved into the local storage for me, and I can use that in any way I want to. Okay. Well, this was a very busy day. Today we worked with how to connect to the backend. We worked with the components, doing the atomic design. We saw how to connect all these things, how to make the logic here. Another thing last thing that I wanted to show you, it's exactly like that. So as you can see, when you go to the pages, this is what's gonna happen. The pages is gonna be big, but it's gonna be big in logic. So as you can see, I'm creating all the logic here, so this part it's bigger, and this part is small. The part that it's the element itself, the components itself, it's gonna be small, and the logic it's gonna be bigger and bigger and bigger. On the other hand, if you go, for example, to the div will have a lot of the div is not a good example, but for example, the button, the CSS in the button is gonna be big. On all this information, it's gonna be bigger, and you don't have logic in here. And if you go to the organisms, as you can see, you will have a lot of reference to the elements, and a little bit less of logic. We don't have logic here, but in the organisms it's allowed to have a little bit of logic. It's not allowed to have logic into the molecules and atoms, but in the organisms you can have logic. In the pages you have a lot of logics. Templates, there is no logic. Templates, there is no elements. It's just structure. So this is the idea of the atomic design, and this is how you connect your element to the backend. So Bruno, how do you think that it was this day? And well,
It was very nice. We have authentication, an SPA that it can authenticate
yeah, there
in
is a
our backend.
yeah. I'm sorry. There's a lot of
Super.
things. There's a lot of things that I want to do in this application yet. So we are using token and refresh token. So how do we do the automatically refresh? How do we do that? So I will show you how to do that automatically in the next session. So in the next session, what we're gonna do, we will protect the homepage. The first thing, so we will make so everyone that tries to access the homepage, it will be sent to the login. If the person logs in with a valid user, we will send it to the homepage. The homepage will accept the person. And for example, in 5 minutes, 15 minutes, when the token it's not valid anymore, we will use the refresh token to call the backend and give us a new token. And we'll do all of that in the next session. What do you think
Yeah,
about that?
it's awesome. I want to learn how to
Nice.
do that automatically.
Yes. So for everyone that is still here, I just would like to say thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being here with us all this time. And well, thank you very much. See you the next in 2 days. It's gonna be on Thursday. And well, see you there. To the
See
next
you guys.
live. Bye bye, Bruno. See you.
Bye bye.
Send you guys to yeah, there we go.